SpongeBob NaturePants. Chapter 2. Nyah! SpongeBob screamed, taking in the sight of the grill in flames. Throwing up his arms in a panic, SpongeBob fled to safety, hiding behind Mr. Krabs' ample back. His jellyfish fantasy was now forgotten and replaced with the hot reality of a 4-alarm fire. Mr. Krabs, what do we do? SpongeBob asked. What do you mean, we? This is your show, SpongeBob, Mr. Krabs replied, grabbing a bright red fire extinguisher off the wall and handing it to his employee. Here, use this. SpongeBob hefted the canister over his head and, with a grunt, hurled it toward the grill. Clunk! The extinguisher bounced off the stove. Before Mr. Krabs could scold SpongeBob, the fire took on a new life, erupting across the top of the stove and covering the counters in hot flames. With a whoosh, the blades spread, growing in size and power. In a matter of seconds, the scene had gone from being a simple grease fire to a major inferno. The intense heat of the flames caused Mr. Krabs to break out in a sweat, even from across the kitchen. Hot, hot, hot! Mr. Krabs shouted. Oh, but I hate a fire. It makes me outer shell feel extra crunchy. SpongeBob looked upon the scene in horror, wincing as the walls began to catch on fire from the blazing grill. Visions of the entire Krusty Krab burning to the ground flashed through SpongeBob's fevered brain. If SpongeBob toasted the restaurant, Mr. Krabs would fire him for sure. One thing was for certain, SpongeBob was no longer bored on the job. This is my fault, SpongeBob said as he hitched up his square pants. There was a determined gleam in his eye. I'll take care of the problem. SpongeBob approached the blazing grill. Taking a deep breath, he began to huff and puff in an effort to blow out the fire. However, instead of blowing out the flames, his efforts only fanned them into a brighter bonfire. That's not working, SpongeBob, Mr. Krabs called. Back up before you get cooked yourself. Must stop fire! SpongeBob panted, huffing and puffing even harder. Could I get an order of fries and a chocolate shake to go? Holy smoke! A voice said. Mr. Krabs spun around to find a fireman standing in the doorway of the kitchen. The kitchen's closed, but I'll give you a 10% discount coupon if you put out that blaze, Mr. Krabs said. Deal! I'll fetch my hose, the fireman agreed, racing out of the blazing kitchen. Stand back, SpongeBob, Mr. Krabs called. Help is on the way! Sploosh! A blast of water shot out toward the burning kitchen, but SpongeBob was standing in the way. As he spun to see what was going on, he caught the fire right in his mouth. SpongeBob gargled. As the pressure of the hose blasted more and more water into SpongeBob's mouth, his head began to grow. The more water the fireman sprayed, the more SpongeBob's head puffed up like a water balloon at a carnival game. Move out of the way, Mr. Krabs called. You're soaking up all the water. SpongeBob began to wobble on his feet. Splat! He splashed heavily on the burning stovetop. With a loud sss, his wet body extinguished the flames. Though it would need a good airing out and fresh wallpaper, the kitchen was saved. Hooray! The fireman said. Your discount coupon, Mr. Krabs announced, giving the fireman a certificate. Eat in good health. As the fireman rolled up his hose, Mr. Krabs stepped over to SpongeBob. He was still flat on his back on top of the now cool grill. SpongeBob's head had returned to normal size, although he was covered from head to foot in soot from the burnt Krabby Patties. Mr. Krabs cracked his claws and picked up SpongeBob's drop spatula, using the tool to scrape his slightly dazed employee off the range. SpongeBob, Mr. Krabs announced as he flipped the spatula over one shoulder. Come into me office. Stay tuned for Chapter 3 coming up soon.